Alright, alright. Here we are. Got start a new case. Give me one. I mean, if that's what you want to do, I'm not gonna freaking bother you with that. I barely use social media as it is, cause alright. Oh, now I gotta fix that. Of course I do. Of course I do. Freaking. Yes, I'm aware. I'm aware. I'm aware of what you're talking about. All right. The Great Departed Soul.
The grand end of the century Great Exhibition of London. Surely there is not a soul who has failed to hear of it. Wondrous new works of culture and industry from every corner of the globe had converged on Hyde Park, welcoming over 50 million visitors. The last great hurrah of this century. Astonished and delighted people of all nations, and ended on a note of resounding success. But as regards to the terrible catastrophe that occurred during the festivities, very few were aware my friend Mr. Herlock Sholmes had a hand in unraveling the matter. For from the shadows, it was he who earnestly unearthed the facts of the case. And like the centerpiece of the great exhibition, which rose high into the skies of Hyde Park, Sholmes's brilliant deductions, as clear and lofty as the Crystal Tower itself, brought the truth to light.
I'm assuming that means a bombing.
We're here at the showground of the Great Exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people. The weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam engines and electrical power dominate the world. Horse-drawn carts will give way to the motor car. Ships will sprout wings and take to the skies. And today, we showcase even more advanced technology. A glimpse into the future. A world first. A demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine.
What's it? Oh, that looks like a freaking laser, dude.
Will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high voltage electricity and beamed to another location.
This is set in the late 1800s.
Whereupon his body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before.
No. No. But like this... Generally, this world takes place in a different kind of 1800s, but it's still relatively the same.
This gentleman will, in the blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air.
You just got a whole bunch of experimental tech, like Sholmes has, and apparently this dude has.
To arrive an instant later on the Crystal Tower behind you!
He's very excited. Yes, we are. Lawyering it up. Oh. Oh, great. Something's going wrong. Oh, no. But yeah, this is late 1800s, so... yeah, there's like some level of like tech that wasn't there before, but that's just because... oh, there's some scientists, and Herlock Sholmes has some freaking experimental tech, because he's a scientist of sorts, which is related to the character. Oh, yeah, definitely in that regard, it's very similar to the crossover game with Professor Layton and Phoenix Wright. Like, you can even see some characters that look very similar to some of the characters from that game, which is pretty nice. Bruno, are you listening? Sorry, what was that, Iris? What's the matter with you? You've been miles away all morning. Didn't you like what I cooked for breakfast? No, that's not it at all. What were you talking about again? Today's paper, it's full of news about the Great Exhibition again. Ah, yes, the Great Exhibition. I'd like to go sometime. You're really not your usual self today. You seem very down. Don't you agree, Hurley? Well, if... oh... Did you say something, Iris? Depressed Sholmes, again. Oh gosh, you're even more down. Thanks. That was in my ears. Woof. Huh? When did you arrive, Mr. Naruto? I've been here for about a half an hour already. We've had breakfast together. What? Why didn't you mention it before? I thought you might have known I was here. You know, because breakfast? Iris is quite right. You're clearly lacking in vim. So much so that I didn't notice your presence. Thanks. Of course, I could introduce the reason perfectly well with some simple observations. What? Let's see. Yes, for example, your tousled hair this morning, with all its unruly spikes. Yes, it can clearly be deduced, therefore, that... let me stop you right there, Mr. Sholmes, because I think I can see where this is going. My hair always looks like this. It always has. Ever since we first met, in fact. Oh, really? How interesting. It just doesn't look like a haircut as such, I suppose. Thanks again. Oh boy, Sholmes. Oh boy. Crossed my mind recently that it's been 6 months now. 6 months? Since I was forbidden from working in court. So I've been wondering how much longer I'm going to be banned. Oh, well, that would explain why you seem rather glum. Don't you agree, Hurley? Oh, depressed Sholmes again. Did you say something, Iris? Back to moping. I mean, that's kind of a given. What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today? He seems even more down in the dumps than me. I know. And the great exhibition has opened. You think he'd be excited. Oh, why don't we all go to see it together? I want to. Of course I do. But I can't. Not for the time being. Why not? Why not? Why not? Because I am a great detective after all. So you're embroiled in some tricky case that you can't be distracted from? Is that it? I don't remember hearing that you're working on a case, Hurley. So let's just try to find out what's going on. Yeah, what are you doing there, Sholmes? Half a year ago now. Took on the defense of a young girl in a trial heard at the Old Bailey. What at first seemed like a simple case of murder that took place at a London pawnbrokery turned out to be one part of a much more far-fetching plot that involved the British government. During the course of the trial, it was found that I made an unavoidable yet at the same time unforgivable mistake. Words fail me. This situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial. Of course, my lord. In the end, I had my right to represent people in court revoked. I was told I had to spend my time in research and study this. That's what I've been doing. You have, haven't you, Runo? Reading all those big, fat tomes about British law up in your room, and the notes about Sholmes' old cases. Brewing Irish's special blends of tea, fetching my daily bread for me. You become something of a manservant around here. Start on the silverware next, Master Naruhodo. Well, I'm thinking of going to ask the powers that be to reconsider. Specifically Lord Strongheart at the British Supreme Court on Whitehall. Lord Strongheart? Ah, the delightful Lord Chief Justice. Not my favorite fellow. He's not mine either, but he's the man I have to talk to. He's the only one who can grant permission for me to start working in the courts again. I came to Britain to become the best lawyer I could, and I can't do that just sitting around here. The whole of London has been swept up in this great exhibition, hasn't it? The most advanced science, the most modern technology, the finest works of art, and feats of engineering. For the next 6 months, our capital will be showcasing these things, and the world will be watching. Oh, do you know what I like to do? I'd like to look down on London from one of those lovely balloons. Look down on... Do you mean those things... fly? Yes, of course. They fly high in the sky and don't even need wings to do it. All you need is hot air. How? How does hot air have anything to do with flying? It makes no sense. Have you ever heard of a balloon, Ryu? Have you ever heard of a balloon? I can't understand it at all. It's true of a lot of new scientific discoveries. Most people can't understand them at first. In 100 years' time, all these things will just be common knowledge. I suppose they might be. Mind you, some of the science being demonstrated seems very questionable. Something went wrong on the open experimentation stage yesterday, apparently. There's a huge explosion. Still, I wish I'd seen it, though. I'd love to see how bad some of these scams experiments really are. Says the innocent 10-year-old girl. See here, every page of this paper carries some article or other about the great exhibition. But the brighter things shine, the darker the shadows that are cast behind them. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darkness, to the impenetrable. That is my proper atmosphere. Yeah, that's what you say, Sholmes. He likes the dark. He likes the dark. Oh. Huh. The Reaper was attacked. So many glowing reports about the Great Exhibition and everything that's going on there. Other than this rather gloomy looking one, that is. Wait, what? What's the matter, Runo? The Reaper attacked. That's Lord Van Zeeks. This must be what Mr. Sholmes was talking about. Does he know any more, I wonder? Attacked, you say? Shadows got some... Well, first of all, let's talk about the gloomy mood. What's up with you? Are you investigating a particularly tricky case at the moment, Mr. Sholmes? You could say that, I suppose. Nothing more to add? It's not like you. What sort of case is it? Shh! Quiet, Mr. Naruhodo. When stuff's discussed here, you never know who might be listening. You're acting very strangely, Hurley. What do you mean, Iris? Well, usually, the more mysterious and complicated a case is, the better Hurley's mood. Is it really a case that's bothering you? Iris, please! You mustn't exercise your astute powers of observation and dedication on me without invitation! Remember what I always say. Put yourself in the shoes of the individual about whom you're making deductions. You say that, do you? You, Mr. Sholmes? Never mind. Once I've had a cup of tea, I must make my way at once to the crime scene. That was a deep sigh. Gloomy boy! Gloomy boy. It says in the paper that Lord Van Zeeks was attacked. That's terrible. You know the legend of the Reaper of the Bailey, of course, don't you? Only too well, in fact. Yes, Prosecutor Barrick Von Zeeks. They say that if the Reaper is the prosecutor in a case, there's no salvation for whoever's in the dock. Even if the defendant is found not guilty. Once the Reaper has someone in his sights, one way or another, that person's time left on this earth will be short. Well... Natsume would like to have a word with you. London's finest rogues always find the ways around the law. Stop at nothing to secure an acquittal at trial. Falsifying evidence, paying sham witnesses, threatening jurors, bribing judges. But even such devious tactics as these cannot save them from the hand of the Reaper. Have you experienced yourself, haven't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, seen the Reaper's retribution at work. Many of these criminal rogues are reckless and quite unafraid to die. If a leader among their fraternity is seen to have been taken by the Reaper, retaliation like this does occur. Really, the capital has a never-ending supply of such scoundrels. So do you mean... Lord Styx have been attacked like this before? This isn't the first time? He's quite an accomplished combatant, you know. Well, why would he have that freaking sword on his damn side? He doesn't take these attacks lying down. Although, it seems that his assailants were armed with guns this time. goodness. Is he alright then? Is Lord Van Zeek's hurt? My dear fellow, how on earth would I know? In the article here it says, as to what of Lord Van Zeek's and his condition, all will be revealed in tomorrow's morning edition. Ah, I see. Well, we shall have to be patient then. No. I can't wait until tomorrow. In that case, you'll have to inquire with somebody in the know. But who? Lord Strongheart, perhaps. Well, I guess we might as well head to him. Well, I must be leaving now. Yes, understood. See you later, Mr. Sholmes. Ha! You really are a shameless liar sometimes, my dear fellow. What? You seek to put me off my guard and follow me, don't you? Well, you would be wasting your time. That didn't cross my mind, but now I'm wondering where you're going. Well then, see you later indeed. Listen to him. He's still laughing on his way out of the door. Oh! She's got a hat! 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 Alright then, Bruno. Let's get going. Iris, what are you wearing? I think that's a new coat, too. I've got to change into the great... I've got changed to go to the great exhibition. You're going to take me. What? But I was just about to get to the Supreme Court. Oh, well that sounds fun, too. You're going to take me there, then. Threat. 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 Alright, fine. Just lower that weapon, would you? Of course. And after the Supreme Court, then we'll go to see the great exhibition. Alright. Alright. Hey, Strongheart. What was his fucking name again? Police Chief, what's his fucking name? Damon Gantz, right. Yeah. The guy that looks like Damon Gantz, but from the 1800s. And he's technically the police chief, almost, except he's higher up in the law. I don't know. It's been about 6 months now since I was last here. But some things never change, like the sense of foreboding I always seem to feel in this place. Good! Pet. Doesn't seem to be bothering Iris at all, though. She's happily reading over there. She sure is. Oh, I love this place. Always find so many interesting books here. Of course. Just forgetting that you've been here before. Time we came here 6 months ago. When Susato-san was given the news that she was to return to Japan. Ah, I understand you wish to speak with me. Lord Strongheart, I trust you've been keeping well? Let's see. Since you arrived and requested an audience, it's been 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 26 seconds. I've kept you waiting a while. My apologies. No, not at all. I like nothing more than standing around staring into space. Good to know. Good to know that doesn't appear to bother him at all. Mayo Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of London. He's the man who allowed me to start practicing as a defense lawyer when I arrived in Britain as a student. You need only savor the air for a moment in this grand office to understand his preeminent status. As you will be aware, the Great Exhibition of London is now underway at last. We're extremely busy as a result, policing the grounds, guarding the new technologies, dealing with petty crime. And furthermore, as of next month, we shall open the International Forensic Science Symposium. Oh, I've never heard about that. Investigating authorities from 40 countries around the globe will be taking part, including from your own land. Forensic science is the future. The world must embrace it. As we're the hosting nation, I have much to do. It is my highest priority if others must wait for my attention as a result. So be it. Well, it's nice to know where I stand. So, you wish to consult with me? Of course, I can very well imagine what this is about. Well, thank you for agreeing to this meeting, my lord. I want to be allowed to start working as defense lawyer again in court. That's what brought me here today. But actually, there's something else playing on my mind as it happens. Bruno, just take a deep breath and come out with it. I actually came here today to ask for your permission. Go on. 6 months ago, my right to work in court as a lawyer was revoked, and I was told to spend my time studying. Obviously, I'm very sorry for what happened, but the thing is, it made me understand what it really means to defend someone under the rules of a foreign justice system. And I desperately want to have another go. Please, permit me to enter the courtroom again. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Ugh, here it comes. I'm sure you haven't forgotten your position here, have you? At best, you are a substitute for your compatriots. This was never your intended role. Well, that's true. Japanese government actually sent my best friend on this study tour, not me. It should have been Kazuma. So determined to bring change to our own justice system at home that it was his calling. If that tragic accident hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here in this office right now. Mr. Asaki was my best friend, you see. That's why I can't leave it unfinished. I have to fulfill his calling for him. His calling, you say? Has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling? Sorry? The mission with which that young student was charged, what do you suppose it really was? What do you mean? Mission? He's not making any sense. Secrets. Never mind. I've read all the reports you've submitted over the past 6 months. It's clear to me that you regret your actions have been studiously obeying your revised instructions. Do you mean... As of this moment, I reinstate your license to practice law here in Great Britain. Thank you so much. It's wonderful news, Bruno. In fact, I believe I have the perfect case to mark your comeback. A curious affair. You'll consider it, I hope. Of course, please tell me more. Right, as a curious affair? Yes, that's right. I believe it was reported in the press. You're aware that there was a serious accident at the Great Exhibition yesterday. Oh, no. Yes, I read about it. Professor from Germany tried to carry out a crazy experiment. Let me see. How is it described? Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, I think? Instantaneous kinesis? As in moving things with a click of the fingers? That's right. It's just what my herbal blends need. A dash of devil may care. Whatever the serious accident was exactly, it's clearly captured Iris's imagination. It's an unfortunate business. A large explosion engulfed the public experimentation station and a man lost his life. A certain Mr. Odie Osman. Odie Osman. Odie Osman. I don't know what the pun of that is, but I don't know. An investor and well-known figure in society. A large explosion. A man died? The man responsible for the experiment was Professor Albert Hairbrain. Albert Hairbrain? Hairbrain! Is that because he looks like frickin' Einstein, almost? He was detained immediately after the incident and is due to appear in court tomorrow. On the charge of murder. What? Murder? If you intend to take on his defense, you shall hurry to meet him at the prison. There's very little time left for you to carry out any kind of investigation. The Great Exhibition, a scientific experiment gone wrong, and murder? I feel out of my depth before I've even started. Still. We should go to the prison straight away then. And try to meet with this German professor, don't you think? Definitely. Ah, yes. One more thing about the case. There's a connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper. Oh, we're friends Zeeks? How? All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world to coincide with the Great Exhibition. And next month, the largest and most important of them all will take place at last. The International Forensic Science Symposium. It does seem as though a criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it? Exactly. London, the global epicenter of culture, science, and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly startling rate. So it's imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible. Which is what's known as forensic science, isn't it? Exactly. The future of policing. Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods. Oh dear, that's alarming. Exactly. It's extremely alarming. Ah! He's did that at least 4 times. If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you can be sure the numbers of crimes committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. And I can cite 12 solid arguments and 223 individual reasons to support my claim. Sorry? By way of apology for keeping you waiting early, I shall detail everyone now. What? Oh, how fascinating. It all began 15 years ago. I was... Sleep. And that more or less sums up my feelings on the matter, in the simplest of terms, of course. Essentially, to formally establish a forensic investigation division with Scotland Yard. That is my mission. Right. Yes, that's wonderful. Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be. She's just reading. Iris isn't paying attention at all. She's got her nose in another book now. Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful? I actually drifted off for the most part. He's surprisingly ardent about forensic science. Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen this? The reports of the overwhelming success of the Great Exhibition. Of course. No, not that. It's on the back page. What story? The Reaper attacked. Ah, that. You've enjoyed some victories in court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not? Poor Mr. Reaper. What happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he? There's no need for this concern. Lord Van Zeeks would not be so easy dispatched, I assure you. Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know. Very well. If it interests you. It does, strangely. Fortunately, Lord Van Zeeks emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter. But that's incredible. They were armed with guns. Why was he attacked, though? Do we know? It's related to the events that occurred a month ago. A leader of one of the capital's criminal organizations was indicted and prosecuted by Van Zeeks. But the man was acquitted. I've no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes. Large sums of money? A deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. However, despite winning his freedom, the man in question met a dramatic end yesterday. You're not suggesting that was the work of the Reaper, surely? The victim's henchmen certainly seemed to think, though. Used by a man by the name of Osman, Mr. Odie Osman. Did you say Osman? That's the man who died in the big explosion of the Great Exhibition. Yes. No public asset investor, but in reality, the head of a significant criminal organization. Unbelievable. Wonder, could he ask you something, Lord Stormheart? Try me. Why do you use Lord Van Zeeks as a prosecutor? All the criminals who manage to get off in court then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom. And if fearful of that fate, they seek to strike at Lord Van Zeeks first. No, there's a little evidence that he actually is the Reaper in that sense, but still. Something's clearly going on here. I have Van Zeeks' worth of prosecution service for 2 reasons. Firstly, the man is the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom following his trials are nothing to do with him. That doesn't make sense. How can you explain the way so many have died, if not by someone's hand? Van Zeeks may have earned himself the moniker of the Reaper, but he is no killer. So he will continue to prosecute on behalf of the Crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course. Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. My colleagues may be starting to fidget. 11 hours late? That's quite something. I mean, it already started when I arrived here for this engagement with you. So lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man. Sure, it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and... I'm sure it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and 223 reasons. Oh yes, where do I find Lord Van Zieks now? I would assume he's at his office. Right, I'll go and ask him about the attack in person. I want to get this straight from the horse's mouth. Away with you now. I'm leaving Professor Harebrain's defense entirely in your hands. Of course, yes. Thank you very much, my lord. Well, we might as well go to Harebrain first. When it said cell 11, that's this one. Oh, there's someone curled up in a ball in the back corner. Look. What's his name again? Professor Albert Harebrain, wasn't it? Excuse me, Professor Harebrain. Who are you? A lawyer! Was it something I said? A lawyer, you say? Would you be here about the experiment? Are you going to defend my hypothesis? Your hypothesis? Sorry, you don't... Yesterday's demonstration! That demonstration was... It was an out-and-out success by anyone's calculations. But despite that, no one listens. No lawyer believes in the science. When it's explained, they all leave at high velocity. Now it's probably not a good time to mention that your zeal made my concentration leave for a while too. You mentioned the demonstration yesterday. Papers have called it a spectacular failure. After all, a man died in the explosion, didn't he? Arrgh. Yes, you could interpret the results that way if you really wanted to. Well, I suppose in the strictest sense. The experiment was a failure, but at the same time, it was a great success. You've lost me. So in my own eyes, right there in front of me, Mr. Osman was spontaneously disassembled. Till then, everything was going exactly as my calculations had predicted. At that point, you should have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instantaneous kinesis. However, the machine exploded and Mr. Osman in fact perished? Yes. I cannot deny that part of the experiment was a failure. So what you're really saying is the large explosion that killed Mr. Osman was an accident, correct? Blitwitz had you arrested on suspicion of murder. I was responsible for a man's death. That is the immutable truth here. And for that, I wish to be punished at once. But... Murder? Never in a million years! It was an accident, simply an accident. I see. Earlier we were talking this morning, you know. You said the situation would change completely depending on whether it was treated as an accident or murder. How exactly? Well, it really was an accident, and the professor's machine would have been kept in protective custody. On what grounds? Ah yes, it's newly established here in Britain. the Special Suspension for Scientific Equipment Act. That one passed me by. But if the case is treated as a murder, then they'll say my machine was the murder weapon. They'll be able to pour it over as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they'll find out how it's made, and then they'll be able to copy my idea. My precious hypothesis will be stolen. She must be protected from that at all costs. That's why it's imperative this whole incident is shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial. Ah, I see now. Yeah, you gotta make sure it was an accident, or someone probably tampered with it. So in short, there was a terrible accident in the Great Exhibition Showground yesterday. Yes, or rather, no, the devil is in the details. Strictly speaking, there was a terrible explosion. Sounds the same to me. You weren't demonstrating super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, were you? How fascinating. Humans, like all matter, are made up of particles that are held together by electrical bonds. So it must be possible, using sufficiently high voltage, to break those bonds and beam the particles through space. That's it in a nutshell. That's my idea, you see. That's my amazing hypothesis. Gosh, that's unimaginably high-level science. Oh, but dare to imagine it. Dare to dream of such incredible technology. Just think, one moment I could be here in this cell, and the next I could be at the Great Exhibition again. Oh, yes, that would be incredible. And the next, in the mere blink of an eye, I could be at a great partisan theater, say. The possibilities are endless. The whole of our vast planet would be within reach. So no more hiding in wardrobes on rocky seas for 50 days. I don't really see it like that. What do you mean, Iris? Well, if you could travel anywhere in the world instantly, the planet wouldn't really be as vast anymore, would it? I think it would feel like it had shrunk. My word, that's exactly right. What are the implications? What does this mean? Whoops, that got Professor Bunnybrain really worried by the look of it. Clearly this is yet another case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, I suppose. The point is, my calculations are flawless. The science works. Without a practical demonstration, it means nothing. That's always the fly in the ointment. Because practical demonstration costs a lot of money. Money that young scientists like you don't have. That's exactly it, yes. Hurley's always complaining about it. He says the government should invest more in science. Well, anyway, I bumped into him at the right time. I met the well-known investor, Mr. Osman. The gentleman who died in yesterday's terrible accident, you mean? The full name of the man who died in yesterday's accident was Mr. Odie Osman, wasn't it? What exactly was your relationship with the man? He first visited me in my laboratory in Germany a year ago now. He said he was wanted to invest in my immaculate hypothesis. I think my lucky stars. I see, so you hadn't really known each other until then. Money for scientific research, I'm so envious. As far as I was concerned, the man was an angel. Oh, really? An archangel, even. He was prepared to fund a practical demonstration of my hypothesis for presentation at the Great Exhibition. And if that went well, I would expect additional financial support for my research from the British government. Mr. Osman provided me with the money and an exceptional engineer. He produced the machine to my precise specifications. And then your dreams were blown to dust in one enormous explosion. As you can see, I owed everything to Mr. Osman. I would never ever thought of taking the man's life. Well, he seems genuine enough. I don't think he's lying. How could this have happened? I just feel awful, as well as the man losing his life. The Crystal Tower is greatly damaged, too. I know what happened. I must have been that. That? The day before the demonstration, I had my usual meal of frankfurters at the hotel restaurant. When I paid the bill, they gave me 3 shillings too much in change. But instead of saying anything, I just slipped the coins in my pocket. They're still there now. It's divine retribution for my wrongdoing. That's what this is. What? What? For a scientist, he sure has very illogical anecdotes. Long and illogical. Fascinating, yes. Man, where I come from, it's a symbol of a defense lawyer. Wearing it is very bracing, I find. Your words make some sense to me, but they are entirely illogical. What do you mean? Well, for example, I find this white laboratory coat that I wear for my work very bracing too. However, in my case, there's a perfectly illogical reason for that feeling. Oh, really? What is it? I purchased the wrong size by mistake. This one is too small for me. Sleeves especially are extremely bracing. I can barely move my wrists. That's what you call logical, is it? Of course it's entirely logical. It's science, Mr. Naruto. Well, I think that's all we can get out of him right now. So we might as well go to the prosecutor's office. Mr. Borak von Zeeks. This is the Legendary Reaper's office? Yes, it appears so. Sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deadly atmosphere. Oh, is that... The hood here was so still, I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is. Yeah, who the hell is that? What are you doing here? Hello. He's not as welcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well. I am. So who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or other? No punishment is taking place here. Oh. That's my apprentice. He's sitting there of his own free will. I didn't know you had an apprentice. Must have been the same person who was pictured in the newspaper. But who is it? He's very able in combat. A requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage. Referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers? The Reaper. I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself. Assuming, that is, such a fabled fiend genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms. Lord Stormheart said the assault last night was some sort of revenge attack? True. I heard about the henchmen of the Odie Osman's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably some hoped to kill me before that happened. Odie Osman. He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers, a global investor. and his enormous wealth came to him by underhand means via his criminal activities. And he used that money to buy himself the verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? And crossed it by you, Mr. Reaper. But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances, it was a most unusual cause of death. I know about that. It was a super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong. Mr. Osman died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion. Correct. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you? Well, no, that does not seem a little far-fetched. This man really is the fabled Reaper, and he has to be innocent of this particular death, at least. Strange how this has worked out, isn't it, Runo? I mean, what were you taking on the professor's defense for the trial tomorrow? What? You're going to be defending him? Yes, that's right, though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest. Albert. Albert Harebrain. That's right. Do you know him by any chance? Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were at university together. You're... What? You were frickin' classmates? I'd understand that Professor Harebrain was from Germany, though. Harebrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from the University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research. That's all. So you were students together? I was in the Faculty of Law, of course, and he's in Science, so our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we'd get along. Though I've not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form. And with you, of all people, representing him. Ugh, only if I make it out of this office alive. He's actually been charged with murder, it seems. Yes, I know. Yes, a prosecution will be handled by me. By you? But you made it sound as if you and the professor had been friends. We are friends, it's true. Then why would you do this? If Reaper's the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed. What's Lord Van Zeek's thinking? What do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean... I'm a crown prosecutor and a mortal like any other. I'm no demigod. But they've died, haven't they? The people you prosecuted, I mean. Not all of them. Whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or an acquittal. Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society. People who, without question, deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them. But that's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all. Nor was Ginny. In fact, she was ever so hard-working now. I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn. But the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, it was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work. Your Strongheart said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way. You're attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true. The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, the number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially. Oh. It would appear that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful for their lives. Do you mean to say... I mean to say that my pseudonym serves a useful purpose. I adopt it gladly, and with honor. It's putting you in danger. You could be killed. If that is my fate, let God decide. Lord Ranzis. Lord Ranzis, about the article in this paper. Ah, yes, it seems that there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. I had no idea I'd been photographed. It was careless of me. Looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had run away, though. Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them. Someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. And I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it? As I mentioned already, he's my apprentice. So you could tell us a little more about him? He's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor. So you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose. Ah, like here to Hurley then, Bruno. I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with a great detectives. He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack. Looks like he's wearing some kind of mask? On Lord Strongheart's orders. Nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity. Why would you agree to take on such a clearly suspicious individual? Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There would be good reason for his actions. I hope you're right. Oh, hi. Wait a minute. That facial structure. Ah. Yeah, at least with the facial structure, these seems familiar. That's good. Complete. Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs. Back to work again. It was really strange, though. Never met the man before. Didn't even know he existed. And yet, somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter. Maybe it's your boyfriend? Maybe? I don't know. Don't bother trying to converse with him. He's saying nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Stronghorn has strictly forbidden it. Oh, I see. Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyway? No, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to. Why he just stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture? It couldn't be. Yeah, I definitely think that's implying that that's definitely Kazuma. Kazuma probably didn't actually die. Ah, yes, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. What's that? that Nepalese man. Is he faring well? Sorry? The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago with the stoop, and the mustache, and the jitters. Ah, Mr. Natsume, you mean? Not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identified him from that list, Runo. He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day. I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you? There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case. Yes, thank you for the advice, and for the conversation. I can't believe he's asking after Sosagi-san, after a Nipponese. Not sure whether to feel happy about that or worried. Never imagined that Mr. Reaper would be friends with a mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books. A mad scientist? Oh, you mean Professor Hairbrain? Yes, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relations with Lord Van Zieks, I think. Yeah, we might as well go do that. I understand Lord Van Zieks is a friend of yours from your university days? Yes, that's right. He was studying law while I was studying science. What was he like back then? A good question. Unassuming, gentlemanly, and all-around nice fellow, really. Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted and merciless prosecutor Barak Van Zieks. What was he like when he was at university? Talk about a leading question, Runo. As I said, an unassuming and extremely pleasant gentleman. After all, he is the little darling of the Van Zieks family, with all its great aristocratic origins. I didn't realize he had quite such noble blood. Little darling. It was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learned what he'd become. The Reaper of the Bailey, no less. Yes, that's right. I did hear, though, that there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after graduation. Really? What sort of event? I'm sorry, but I don't know anymore. I wasn't in the country at the time. I was in Germany already. Oh, yes, of course. If you start out all about the Reaper, I really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zieks will be the prosecutor in court tomorrow. So, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I understand you properly. The huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying? You had no intent to harm the victim, who was in fact the sole investor in your work, is that correct? As correct as 2 squared is 4. I swear it. Yes, it's true that the man perished in a machine of my invention. So I know that I'm far from blameless in all this, but still. I would never use my discoveries, my inventions, to take a person's life. Not in a centillion years. I'm out of science. That's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe in my hypothesis? Science is a pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that, all my life. I'm afraid I don't know much about science, but your theories. But I do believe you, and I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. I'm a man of the law. It's all I know. You have to believe me. Please. When I went to live in Germany after I graduated, I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage, none of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything. Thank you for that, Professor. And thank you in advance for defending me tomorrow in court. Alright, Runo. It's time. Time to visit the Great Exhibition. Sorry? Well, that's where the incident happened, isn't it? Yes, I suppose that's true. Time to investigate at last. Investigate! The showgrounds are a little too big for my liking. I'm walking around in a dense crowds for 2 hours now, and I felt myself swooning 3 times. There are a lot of people, aren't there? I've always been trodden on the 3 times too. Careful, won't you, Iris? Don't let that go to my hand. Finally made it through the throngs, though, by the look of it. Here we are, underneath the public experimentation stage where the explosion happened yesterday. What's that? You heard voices from on the stage. Sounds like an argument. Oh, Ginny! Right. I've had it with you this time. I'm warning you, I'll arrest you in a minute. Oh yeah? Go on then, Spectre. Give it a shot. You ain't got no evidence, and you know it. Wait, I know those voices. You got a cheeky little mouth on you, young lady. By night in the cells will teach you some manners. Just try it, I dare ya. If you want that bag of chips rammed down your throat. Yoo-hoo! Gregsy, what are you doing up there? It's you. Here, you're here. Here you are. Here you. Your ladyship. How are you, your ladyship? I do hope you're well, your ladyship. Does that make her 3 times a lady? I'm not well at all. It's far too busy everywhere. I wanted to ride in a balloon, but there was a 3-hour queue. Unbelievable. I'll go and have a word for you at once, your ladyship. You'll be flying high as a kite in no time once I pull some strings for you. Tobias Gregson, an inspector at Scotland Yard. Till recently, he was suspended from duty, but it appears he's back in action now. He's actually quite well known, appearing as he does in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. For that reason, he can't say a word wrong to the story's author, Iris. Hoover mode. Hoover mode. Suck. Watch the sunshine. Sorry. What gives then? Don't tell me you're on this case. Yes, I'm acting for defense. So we're here to investigate. Dear me, that's the situation, is it? Is it really that troubling? Easy fight, Bob. Is that all you got? You're a lawyer, ain't you? You got to stand around and carry a bit more copper around in your pockets, Mr. Nada Odo. Hey, that's my last bit of spending money, that is. You can have it back, but I'll have to charge you for all the bother. 3 bob. Sheena Lestrade, pickpocket, our diver, born and bred in the East End of London. In the case that led to my own suspension 6 months ago. This is the young girl I was defending in court. What's your problem, Odo? Diver, pickpocket. What's with all the name calling? You want a bag of chips ran down your throat and all, do ya? I thought you were proud to be a diver, Gina. You was just arguing with Inspector Gregson about you, weren't you? I've seen you've been up to your old usual tricks at the showground. That ain't no way to talk to a lady, Odo. Half a year's a long time. People can change. I'm an apprentice now, learning to be a Scotland Yard detective. So they have to call me what everyone else does. It's Inspector Lestrade now. Wild. Inspector? The badge is homemade, surely. The inspector part is entirely accurate. No one calls her that. Entirely accurate. Wonder what's worth anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us. What's that supposed to mean? Right. Well, I'll be back up top. You hold down the fort here, alright? Right, sir. Wild. This raises a lot of questions. Well, it seems like you've gone somewhere. She's 18 now. She's her own adult. It's 8 months ago now that I first encountered Gina, in connection with a case I was working on. At the time, she was living in the East End with a group of other orphans. She helped all of them survive by pickpocketing, but then she's got embroiled in a murder. Had a lot of time to think in person. I realized I couldn't go on like I was. The diving weren't working out. Oh, I'm so pleased to hear it, Ginny. Well done. So, you went from being a pickpocket to a detective. You got it. Good in it. Inspector Lestrade. Sounds like something out of a book, eh? Talk about a sea change. Then there's Iris's old man to think about. Iris's father, you mean? Yeah, I promised her, didn't I? I said I'd get all the police forces around the world to pull out the stops looking for him. Just a small promise then, nothing serious. No, Ginny, you're so sweet. So anyway, that's how I come at the test for the Scotland Yard. Only trouble is, I don't read so well, do I? Just a small problem, nothing serious. That's when Hurley approached Gregson and approached for help. Asked for help. So the inspector said he'd take full responsibility for Ginny and made her sort of an apprentice. He was very magnanimous of Inspector Gregson, and brave. Well, you know Hurley. He enjoys finding ways to make people do what he wants. Great detective likes digging for dirt, in other words. So, the long and short of it is, if you got questions about the case, you can ask Inspector Lestrade. Right then, Inspector. Actually, there's still a big mystery surrounding Gina, isn't there? Oh, what, Bruno? What? Well, 6 months ago, Gina was the defendant in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper. Trial in which she was found not guilty, and that she is still... Come on, you're not still on about that, are you? Legend of the Reaper, whatever it's called. Core. You don't have to worry, Odo. If I didn't half worry, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of you left. It's like I told you before, innit? Reaper's kind of like the him upstairs. Sees what I'm like on the inside, and I ain't really done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong might be stretching a point. What about Mr. Natsume in Japan? He's probably fine, isn't he? Well, that's true. Perhaps the Reaper is more discerning than I thought. Exactly. So I ain't worried. I'm totally fine. Maybe because the Reaper thing is a freaking lie. core. It was out of this world, it was. The brainy bloke pulled a bunch of levers on his machine, and suddenly it started billowing smoke. Then it just went pop. I ain't seen a better experiment here yet. Sorry? You mean you saw it, Ginny, with your own eyes? Yeah, of course. Boss is in charge here, ain't he? Keeping everything running smooth, I mean. Boss being Inspector Gregson, I suppose. It's going to take some getting used to. So all I have to say is that I'm on duty, and I can do whatever I want to. Get this, I was up in one of them flying balloons when it happened, watching it from above. No, you're so lucky, Ginny. Maybe I should join Scotland Yard too. Wild. Wilden. Yeah, do it. You know how to put the boss in his place already, right, Iris? You have no trouble at all. Then it's settled. When do I start? No. You can't join Scotland Yard, Iris. We'll see. Anyway, what I don't understand is this. The machine exploded so spectacularly. How could Professor Bunnybrain still be claiming that his experiment was a success? Oh, right. Well, it was a success in a way. Was? How long can it have been? Surely after the whole machine blew up, no one could have called the experiment a success. Like I said, it did sort of work. I mean, yeah, there was a load of smoke in that whopping great bang. But where do you think they found the victim's body, eh? In the Crystal Tower over there. What? In the tower? Well, it would explain why that frickin' part of the tower just exploded. You see for yourself, can't you? Up there, up above the scaffold. That's where the glass is broken, you mean? Yeah, the cape, what the victim got in to start with, really did get beamed through the air or whatever, and landed all the way over there. So you see, it kind of worked, didn't it? What? I don't believe it. I don't get the ins and out of it, but anything's possible, right? With science. Oh, I tell you what, you can have this. It's plan of the experiment that you drew up on the yard. Are you sure? Yeah, go on. I had 3 bob off of you before, so fair's fair. Yes, I didn't actually give that to you, did I? Something Inspector Gregson said before seemed a little strange. What it's worth anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us. Yes, naughty old Grexy ran off after that without explaining himself. Alright, that. Boss said no one's allowed to investigate that weird machine what blew up yesterday. Well, that's not fair. We're representing the defendant. In that case, could you at least tell us what you've learned from your investigations? Nah, you're not getting it. You're not allowed to investigate neither. Why? What did the boss call him again? The Forensic Investigation Team, I think? Anyway, apart from them lot, no one's allowed to lay a finger on the scene. Bit funny, innit? Assuming Scotland Yard's own detectives can't investigate? Yes, I never heard something like that before. Thought I could have had a gander on the quiet though, but the boss caught me at it. You probably heard I'm giving him an earful about it before from down here, didn't ya? Stop bleeding fair. I think you were giving him as much of an earful back as I remember it. Yeah, well, sometimes it's all them chips what make them so stubborn. You say something to him, Odo? Go on, see if you can get through to him. He's up on the platform above us, is he? where that machine that exploded is. We can try, can't we, Runo? Of course he will listen to us. I'm sure he will. Stairs obviously lead to the stage above. We should go up there and investigate the exact spot where the experiment was being conducted. Well, that's it, is it? Machine that blew up. Oh, it must have been a magnificent explosion. I've seen my fair share. Seen things like this before, you mean? Of course. Hurley's always doing experiments that end in a bang. In fact, in his own words, explosions are the very essence of chemistry. Ah, then that might explain the smell of burning that frequently comes wafting up the stairs. One time he made something that exploded with such force it took the roof off the building. I wish you'd been there to see it, Runo. It's hard to get too excited about that, given that I now live in the roof. Well, anyway, that's enough about that. It's time to investigate. Look, Inspector Gregson is over there. He seems to be deep in thought about something, whilst eyeing up the machine carefully. Really? He just looks confused to me. Worked out part magnificently, didn't it? Magnificently and mercilessly. Someone stands in the middle of the machine to be disassembled and then beamed through the air. Yes, beamed. Not blasted. That's the point. Yes, that part's crucial, really. Something like that even possible, though, Iris? Oh, Runo. I'm just a child. How should I know? Child when it suits you, Mimi. From what I can tell, I think if you were to pull this lever over here... Stop! Don't touch that. Haha, that was practically instantaneous kinesis the way you flew over just now, Gregsy. Please, your ladyship. I didn't mean to startle you. I can't let you touch anything up here. So sorry, you can have some of my latest special blend to make up for it. Wonderful. This stuff really is wonderful. Just like old times, this is. We're representing Professor Harebrain in court tomorrow, Inspector. So we should be allowed to examine the scene. Ha! Listen, Sunshine. Even I'm not allowed to touch anything up here. It's that blasted special suspension for scientific equipment act to blame. It's driving me potty. Oh yes, that's special suspension. The professor mentioned that too. More red tape's all we need. I don't know what the government thinks it's playing at sometimes. But we're allowed to glitch the look, aren't we? Eh? Surely that's alright, isn't it, Gregsy? Of course, your ladyship. Anything you say, your ladyship. But please don't get your dainty heads dirty, will ya? Don't worry. We wouldn't dream of touching anything, would we, Runo? She really knows how to get what she wants. First of all, we should at least look around. Considering how badly damaged everything is, Professor Harebrain was lucky to escape unscathed, I'd say. We should have a good look around the machine whilst we can, I think. Try anything and I'll make sure I kill you before I get strung myself up, you hear? I won't touch a thing, promise. So please spare a thought of your digestion. Anyway, do you really think this machine could actually disassemble people like the professor claims? Yes, looking totally incredulous. Give it a rest, sunshine. If you were allowed to examine all this bleeding scrap metal, maybe we could answer that question. We can't, can we? Because of the annoying rules, you mean? Exactly. The annoying destructive flaming rules. Oh, look at the base of the machine there. Yeah, there's a tool of some kind poking through the wire mesh. It's a screwdriver, I think. Oh, isn't it a lovely one? Handled in the shape of a capital letter A. It is? Oh, yes, you're right. What's the matter with you? Don't touch anything, I said. Just anything, I'll make sure I kill you before I get strung up myself, I said. Yes, I understand. Sorry. Only touching a teeny weeny bit. But Grexy, I'm very curious about this screwdriver. Really very, very curious. Of course, your ladyship, you're so clever, your ladyship. Fancy spotting something like this. But I'm afraid I can't let you have it. But Bruno found it first. Assure you, I'll investigate it thoroughly. He's gone off with it. That was very mean. I'm afraid Inspector Gregson is going to be make a very clumsy and embarrassing mistake in next month's installment now. Poor Gregsy. Bummer. Bummer. All sorts of strange buildings here in the Great Exhibition Grounds, aren't there? I seem to remember something similar being exhibited in Japan one time. Oh, in your country, Bruno? I do wish I could go see it. And it presented a particularly steely samurai with a present of one of Hurley's stories I'd written especially. And see if I couldn't get Hurley into a jam against some of those Baratisu Master Ninjas. You might not find as many sort of those people around as you think. Oh, well that's dull. Oh, but I do know a prosecutor with a Chon Mage top knot I would introduce you to. Introduce her to Ouchie. Chon Mage, really? Do you think I could have my picture taken with him, do you? Assuming he's recovered from the trim Kazuma gave him a year ago, yes. What is that gigantic thing over there? It looks like an enormous water wheel. Oh, that's a Ferris wheel. There'll be people riding inside those little cabins you can see. Why? Well, they rotate nice and slowly, so it's a wonderful way to see the surrounding scenery. Wait, it's turning? But it looks completely still. Yes, that's because it's turning so slowly. One complete revolution takes about half an hour. If you were mad enough to go on one, it would be more fun to whiz around fast, don't you think? I feel as though you may have just invented a new sort of ride there, Runo. The inventor of the roller coaster. So those are people carrying balloons, dangling slightly over in the skies over London. I always thought the day would come when humans would discover how to fly. I never imagined it would involve them being suspended from a colorful, floating Tamari handballs. I'm sure it must feel amazing being up there among the clouds. Let's take it right together, Runo, please. If I'm being perfectly honest, I would like to try it. Without a cast iron guarantee that the thing won't plummet to the ground, I'm too scared. Oh well, in that case, I should tell you what Hurley said. It's physically impossible for a flying balloon to plummet to the ground, as long as it doesn't explode. Yes, call me crazy, but I think that exploding part might play on my mind a little. Some amazing horn-shaped devices pointing towards the crystal tower. I suppose once people are disassembled by the machine, they're shot out of that thing to wherever they're going. The thing was supposed to shoot anything, Runo. It was set up to beam people to the crystal tower, where they'd be reconstructed in their original form. Well, I don't like the look of it. If it was amazing as it looks, the accident wouldn't have happened in the first place, of course. I suppose that's true, yes. Nothing ever goes according to plan, does it? I think that's everything. So we can talk to you now. Using high voltage electricity to somehow disassemble a man's body, and then beam him across to the crystal tower. It's an extraordinary thing to attempt. True, it was by far the most unusual experiments planned for the exhibition, mind. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised it was allowed. Carrying out something so dangerous, so many spectators present, I mean. Everyone's doing everything they can to promote new science and technology at the moment. They're more worried about being ahead of the game than the odd spot of public safety infringements. If they can make it to the first to develop some new technology, it makes Britain more powerful in the future, you see. Yes, I suppose that's true in a way. Powers that be are placing a heavy emphasis on the scientists' rights at the moment. What sort of rights? They're making it so that any theories the brains have remain their legal property, as it were. Right through development to a practical idea and even going into production. Which is the infuriating reason us coppers aren't allowed to touch this crime scene. Because the new Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act forbids it. Ah, I see now. Only people with permission to investigate here are from some brand new department at your yard. The Forensic Investigation Team, it's called. We've been regulated to keeping guard. It's an investigation team? Any old fool can see that this heap of scrap metal was a sham to begin with. But just because it says scientific equipment on the paperwork, we can't do a flaming thing with it. Poor Grexy, he's very head up, isn't he? Remind me again, what's this new legal act that means we're not allowed to touch the machine here? Are you having me at it, Sunshine? It's a Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. Yes, I think Hurley mentioned that recently. A real twinkle in his eye, as I remember. I'm sure he did, your ladyship. I'm sure he did. Passed especially for this gracious exhibition it was. All scientists have to do present their ideas or inventions to some suits in the civil service. And if it gets rubber stamped, that's a guarantee of rights to maintain the invention's confidentiality. What does that really mean? Think about it. Think of all the world-changing new inventions on display every day at this exhibition. Although a good half of them are a load of cobblers, if you ask me, put forward by the shammers like yourself. Thanks for that. Oh, I love how absurd some of the inventions here are. It's all so fun. It might be fun to you, but a member of the force has to be present at every single demonstration. Can you imagine, eh? Hang science. That's what I say. Oh no. Oh no. Gregson is an anti-masker. Oh no. Oh, I don't think so. That sounds like my dream job. Soon think otherwise after spending a day guarding all these shammers' big bogus contraptions. Pseudo-intellectual Gregson, oh no! Ah! They're all bogus. How can anyone hope to demonstrate them? There'd be no point. Yeah, well, there's a point, sadly. Sorry. Thanks to another of our government's bright ideas. If any theory or invention is deemed to show potential, the government hands out a research grant. Scientists get funding? Exactly. And that's what they're all after. All these shammers coming from far and wide to clog up Hyde Park. And who has to keep them all safe, eh? Who has to smile politely and welcome them? Us coppers, that's who. You can see why it's say it now, can't ya? Hang science. Hang it! No! Don't! Don't, Gregson! Don't! Oh, maybe I can see your point. Don't listen to him! Apparently Professor Herring lives and works in Germany now conducting his research. That's right. He came back to Britain, especially for the Great Exhibition, as I understand it. Probably after one of the government's research grants. Actually, we learned something else about the professor earlier today. On his time in further education, it turns out he was at university with someone we both know. Lord Van Zeeks. Eh? What's that? That's news to me. Van Zeeks demands the prosecution. Then as the accused, the professor's fate is sealed? Guess Reaper will get him one way or another. Blimey, that man's beyond me. I don't know what goes on in that head of his. Talking to Van Zeeks, this morning's paper ran the story of him being attacked. Read that? Oh yes, but Mr. Reaper is completely fine. Nothing to worry about. Yes, right. Glad to hear it. Still, Reaper, huh? How long is that business gonna keep up, I wonder? Just in this case, the investor, Mr. Osman. He's another of Reaper's victims, or so I heard. Lord Broderick von Zeeks is a top-class prosecutor, but even he can't always push the right verdict through. Sometimes justice can't win. Yes, I've heard about jurors being bribed and evidence being falsified. And that's the notion of the Reaper that Bailey came about, isn't it? Obviously, Scotland Yard suspected Van Zeeks initially. We all assumed he was taking matters into his own hands if he failed to seal the deal in court. Although the man himself denies that charge. Well, we've done a very thorough investigation, and the conclusion we reached is that Lord Van Zeeks is in no way related to the deaths of those people outside the courtroom. There's no question in my mind. I'd stake my reputation on it, I would. That's true, then how do you explain it? Most of the defendants couldn't just have coincidentally died if nobody killed them. I know that, but I can't explain it. It's a mystery after all, isn't it? That's the whole point of the Reaper. But we know how McGilded died. He was killed by his associate. Like, he died by his associate. The guy wanted revenge on him, so he burned him alive. Mr. Harebrain mentioned something else. Said that at university, Lord Van Zeeks was a totally different person, easygoing and kind. You what? Said it was after that they both graduated that something happened that just changed the man. You have any idea what it was? No clue. Really? Look, I got my hands full watching over this frustrating crime scene. Why don't you go and make a nuisance of yourself elsewhere, eh? Or speaking, 9 times out of 10, I find clues turn out to be red herrings. So there's every chance that's totally irrelevant. That's actually a fairly persuasive argument. Spectre, have you read this paper? Yeah, 2 unwelcome blasts back to back. This one at the exhibition and the Reaper getting attacked. I know. Terrible news to wake up to, wasn't it? Tried to pretend I hadn't read it and turned over for another 40 winks. Thanks to that, I was up late and got a roasting from the super. Some mornings are like that, aren't they? Do we have anything else around here before we leave? Not from what it looks like. So I think we just need to move somewhere else. Well, he's gone. I'm Lord Van Zeeks. I think he's ignoring you, Runo. Prosecution and events should avoid speaking outside of the courtroom as a rule. So if anyone is being rude here, it's most certainly the man in black there standing before us. Oh, I see. Well, thank you for setting the record straight. Did you see that? He spoke to me, Runo. So Lord Van Zeeks, have you managed to visit the Great Exhibition yet? He's definitely ignoring you. Right. No niceties either, then. Thanks. Wait. Where would he be then? Where would Sholmes be? Wasn't he supposed to be, like, be around here somewhere? I remember him saying he was gonna be, like, at the crime scene or something. What's this? Looks like so somebody dropped something behind the tree just there. Dropped or hid? What is this? Some part of the machine that exploded? Maybe it could have fallen from the platform above in the blast, perhaps. What's going on in here? Oh, nothing. I'm gonna hang on to this just in case. Well, maybe we can... Oh, look, what's this? A piece of cloth. Something I figured I've seen it before. It's very thick and stiff, extremely durable. It's canvas, I think, some sort of rubber backing. And the edges appear to be a bit charred as well. If that means something to do with the explosion? Let's make a note of while Ginny's mid-yawn. For some reason, the ground is damaged in this spot. Look. Almost as if there was a fire here or something. Yes. If you look closely, there's some scattered ash and burnt embers, too. So if there was a big explosion just above here, people probably would have had an island. A small fire like this would have been Not sure we English are quite that laid back, Runo. It's where the cove ended up after his instant kinesis, or whatever they call it. Dead, of course. And they're calling the experiment a success? What's what did scaffold there for? Coppers, our lads. Set up that after the incident happened. Get the body down, I think. Dunno, really. Didn't you help erect the scaffold then? Nah, lookout duty's more my thing. Running around with the expedition and keeping lookout for the fun stuff. Mind Gregson doesn't hear you said that, or he'll give you the boot. Incredible though, isn't it? I mean, could the victim really have bridged the gap by some sort of invisible kinesis? Runo, listen. What is it? I've been thinking. Hurley might know something, mustn't he? Mightn't he? About what? About Mr. Reaper. About what happened to Lord Van Seeks, you mean? Sounds like something very significant occurred after he graduated from university. Something that completely changed his life. Maybe, but I have no idea where to find Mr. Sholmes at the moment. He's in the middle of some big case, isn't he? Here, this is what you need. What's this? Some kind of entrance ticket? Madame Tuspells. Is this supposed to mean something to me? You don't know it? It's the most popular attraction in London at the moment. It's very close to Baker Street, actually. We should go now, if you like. No, we don't have time for visiting attractions today, Iris. We have a big trial tomorrow. And that's where Hurley is. What? At this popular London attraction? Yes. How does that let you know where he is? Hurley told me, but he told me to keep it a secret from you, Runo. Madame Tuspells? I don't see how it could be related to the case we're investigating here, but then stranger things have happened, and when they happen, Mr. Sholmes is usually at the heart of them. Well, we might as well go to Madame Tuspells. A museum of interesting waxwork exhibits not far from Baker Street. It's become a very popular London attraction in recent years. Waxwork. Is that a gay? That looks like a gay to me. That looks like a gay to me right there at that background. Look at all these terrifying scenes, but why are all the people so still? Guillotines, ruthless murderers. I know what I'll be dreaming about tonight. They're all wax models. They're amazingly realistic, aren't they? What do you think, Runo? Shocked? Wax models? Ah! I read about dead bodies and wax ones in a magazine about strange phenomena. But on how corpses are kept after death, parts of them can turn to wax, apparently. It's called a poker. Stop talking about creepy things like that, Runo. You're scaring me. Anyway, a poker doesn't form readily, you know. Ah! What now? I've just remembered something else I read in another magazine about strange phenomena. I don't think you've ever seen a wax model. I've probably seen a few of them before. It really depends on like how they're made, but they can certainly look fairly real, if a little uncanny valley, if you get me. There's an old lady, maybe a witch, who used to pour molten wax over corpses and put them on display. None of the exhibits in here are real. They're all entirely man-made replicas. Can't be. Do you really expect me to believe that? Just look at them. Oh. There's anybody could make models of people that are this realistic. He's pretending, isn't he? Hi, Lucy. How you doing? Glad you can make it. He's just standing there. Oh, Sholmes. They're all such gruesome scenes. Wait. What is it? Oh, no, I must be seeing things. He's totally just acting like a model. These models are so well made, I can't tell what's a waxword and what's real human. Or maybe all the exhibits are real people. It's closing time, and all the visitors have gone home, they suddenly start moving about. Ugh, just thinking about it makes me wish it was closing time already. I was on my way home. What's this? Is this some infamous murderer? Yes, called Jane the Ripper. All her victims were young women. What? Wait. You're telling me there's a Jane the Ripper now? Wild. You knew it. You can tell by the way she's holding that knife. She's side of a murderer. Well, yes. Ah! What's the matter, Runo? Worked it out. I know what she's doing. She's trying to fill that bathtub with blood she can have and soak in her victim's gore. Not according to the information about the exhibit on the little board here. Doesn't mention anything about the bathtub. Really? Sorry, I don't think it's significant. I still think it has to be there for a reason. I mean, probably. I don't know. What's with this hand over here? Is this an arm? It looks like an arm, doesn't it? Maybe one of the waxwork models has fallen over. I think it could be the work of one of the mass murderers in here. Do you? Runo, stop scaring me. Is it a wax arm or a real one? Come on, you're always pointing that finger of yours in court. Poke that arm now and see how it feels. Objection! Okay. Is this an example of Western Sugiri? I don't know what that is. You know, when an unscrupulous samurai randomly attacks a passerby to test his sword. I still don't know, no. And actually, a waxwork samurai would probably be hugely popular. Could you model it, do you think, Bruno? Doing that Sugiri thing you mentioned. Well, I do have a sword, but I have no intention of testing how sharp it is on the human subject. For now, at least. All right, Sholmes, what are you doing? It's the rare cake detective Herlock Sholmes. Sholmes has his own wax statue in here? Really? Or he's just pretending. Well, he is world famous after all. Uncanny resemblance, isn't it? Makes my skin crawl to look at it. I know. Look, Riddle, you can kick Hurley. He doesn't move a muscle. Uh-oh. You can't go around kicking the exhibits, Iris. Wait. He reeled. It just moved, I'm sure. Not just a little bit either. Hmm? Really? Did it? And look closely. There are beads of sweat on the face of this waxwork model. Shall we move on, Iris? Over there, look, there's a great murder scene to enjoy, much more appealing.
Hold it!
My dear fellow, I take exception to your recalling in such a manner, as I've seen something truly abhorrent. Mr. Sholmes! I knew it. Iris, what possessed you? I strictly forbid you from divulging my temporary waxwork secret to Mr. Naruhodo. Temporary waxwork? What do you mean? That kick! Could you not exercise a little more restraint? You winded me! But Runo had something he needs to ask you. Ah, a question. And I thought you'd probably be getting bored too. So here we are. Well, can't deny that your timing was impeccable. A mere 2 more minutes being stationary like that, and my great brain, upon which all my success has been built, would have turned to wax. Thank goodness we arrived in time. Indeed! In many ways, the pair of you have just saved the world from an unimaginable loss. Oh, Hurley, you do like to talk nonsense, don't you? You could know something is true about Lord Van Zeeks and what happened in the past to change him. Now that you're here, let's take our time. How can I be of assistance? For you're in luck, I'm suddenly quite taken with the idea of conversing. Well, actually, I'm quite in a hurry. And if my eyes don't deceive me, I believe something is afoot within the walls of this very museum. A most fascinating case, if I'm not mistaken. Really? Moreover, I have a strong suspicion that is related to the matter about which you've come to me now. But how could it be? We shall speak again presently, my dear fellow, but for now, I must return to my work. What, back to being temporary waxwork exhibit? What is this place? Madame Tuspels came to London from France 3 years ago, I understand. Since she opened this little waxwork museum last year, it's enjoyed great popularity in London. There are museums like this in Japan too, but these displays are something else. I mean, they aren't made from actual real people, are they? The extreme realism of these waxwork models is a particularly secret of the Tuspels family, they say. They earned renown during the French Revolution for waxworks of victims of the guillotine. Ugh, that sounds grim. The gruesome scenes were portrayed with such realism in the expression to the faces of the condemned. Apparently, sculptors would make the models directly from the corpses, right there at the site of the executions. Whack! That really turns my stomach. That's just one of the several legends about the Tuspel family. Whether there's any truth in it, I couldn't say. But anyway. This museum houses models of famous people from all over the globe. Nevertheless, the most popular area of the museum by quite some margin is this House of Horrors. House of Horrors? Of course, visitor numbers are dwindling now as a result of the Great Exhibition. But people usually flock here to see exhibits of some of London's most vile criminals at their gruesome work. Naturally, most of the miscreants portrayed here were sent to the gallows. So they're even stiffer now than the models of them. Have you heard of poor taste? My dear fellow, the public live for poor taste. They yearn to be shocked. So the hideous exhibits in here are... They're all portrayals of real events that actually took place. Is it just me, or did the temperature in here just seem to drop? Anyway, I advise you not to think too deeply about what you see here. Oh, he's back to being a waxwork, is he? What do you mean by a temporary waxwork, Mr. Sholmes? Exactly what you see. I'm part of the exhibits here, catching these criminals in the act. Catching them? Every half hour I home in on a different killer in order to slaze and adopt a new pose and snare him. When numbers of the public come for a closer look, I offer them my hand to shake. For a shilling, I'll happily allow them to take a photograph with us. Us? Does he mean him in the waxwork murderers in here? But why, Mr. Sholmes? My dear fellow, isn't it obvious? For the money! He really roared at me there. Very fitting for the House of Horrors. As it stands, I may struggle to pay this month's rent, and I have the ravenous iris to consider. Oh, Hurley. So hungry. Push comes up. I shall have to ask you to do your bit, Mr. Nododo. What's he threatening to rope me into now? He's gonna put us into a pyramid scheme! So, with that in mind, how about a photograph? As a special treat, you may have to pick one of the murderers or scoundrels in here. The choice is yours. Maybe some other time. Remember, Mr. Nodo, ignore me at your own peril. Back to me and Waxwork again. Is it just me, or did his final remark there sound like a lot like a curse? Well, what is it you'd like to ask me then? Actually, it's about Lord Van Zeeks. Ah, our friend Mr. Reaper. How did you find him? Well, I trust. So I filled Mr. Sholmes in about everything I've learnt. About Lord Van Zeeks, about Professor Harebrain, excuse me, and about the strange coincidence that I've been at the university together. So I'm wondering what it was that happened to make Lord Van Zeeks such a different person. I was sure that you know, Hurley. You said there was something going on here in this exhibit hall before. That something was afoot. And you believed it was related to what I wanted to ask you about. Mr. Sholmes? You suddenly clammed up. It seems we've reached the unavoidable... Greetings! Oh. Witch! Witchy witch. Ah, hello. Where did she appear from? What's she wearing? Could she look any more mysterious? It's Madame Tuspel's, probably. I hope you are appreciating my museum. Sorry, have we... Witchy woman! Sholmes, you know this? Not again! He went back in. My apologies. I am Esmeralda Tuspels. This is my museum of waxwork. Well, you're the Madame Tuspels? Bien sûr. Though only 26 years young, I might add. Is that significant somehow? I'm a madam in name only. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi. Right. Firstly, I must apologize for my waxworks. Or rather, one waxwork in particular. That'll be Mr. Sholmes then. I was led to believe he was a great detective, but he seems unable to settle. Next time you move from your designated exhibit, there will be toil and trouble. Uh-oh. She sounds deadly serious. That's a problem. How am I supposed to ask Mr. Sholmes about Lord Van Zeeks now? She must be paying him or something to, like, do this or something. I don't know. Let's not forget what Hurley said before. Something being afoot. Right here in the museum, I mean. Yes, I know, but... I'm so curious. I want to know what's happening here. Haven't we got enough on our plate already? Well, we might as well ask her. Did you make all these waxworks, Madame Tuspels? I did, and I am a third of the generation of waxwork artisans, you know. Gosh. It was my grandmother who began the tradition in my family. Her fortunes were secured, living through the turbulent times of the French Revolution as she did. Though that is when she acquired this savoir-faire that leads to the astonishing likeness. Lifeless. Lifelikeness. Bleh. All these waxworks really do look as though they are alive. In fact, they look more alive than Hurley. What you see exhibited here represents the most atrocious of London's criminal past. All the waxworks were created in the presence of the real people on which they are modeled. In the hours immediately following their executions. That is the secret to the extraordinary lifelikeness. That sounds terrifying. All walks of life have similar challenges, I'm sure. To carry out one's trade par excellence, one must go to extraordinary lengths. My exhibits are a reflection of society. I create only that which the public wishes to see. Ugh. Why couldn't the public have wished for something less horrifying? Do not fear. Sorry? This room is the only one in the museum with such a macabre theme. I do hope you'll explore. There are models of famous singers, actors, politicians. Something for every taste, I hope. It was Iris who dragged me straight in here, come to think of it. Sorry, perhaps I should have eased you into things. What's the situation with that? Ah, my temporary waxwork model. He approached me some days ago. Yeah, she paid him. She's paying him so he can get some rent. Oh, what sort of proposal? My dear madam, What these sparse exhibits need is the addition of a world-famous great detective. Or words to that effect. Naturally, I am well aware that Mr. Sholmes is widely known in London as a talented detective. It's great detective, actually. He's very specific about it. Yes, the creme de la creme. So I was keen to some arrangement with him, of course. But sadly, we were unable to agree terms. Let me guess, someone wanted to charge an exorbitant price for his services. For a mere £500, I will dive into your cauldron of wax this very moment. Or words to that effect. Sholmes might have overdone it slightly with the sales pitch. Regrettably, the museum has a shortage of funds at the moment due to unforeseen circumstances. What would those circumstances be? So we came to the current arrangement instead. Surely he doesn't really need to do what he's doing though, does he? I would think not, but he was very insistent. I have 50 shilling. Problem that must be resolved by the morning. Or words to that effect. It's the pawnbroker, that's what it is. He must have something to redeem. Yeah, of course it is. Is consulting detective work not doing so well? Probably not. I wonder, could I ask you something? Bien sûr. I'm just curious, is there anything going on in the museum at the moment? Some kind of incident, perhaps? Whoever suggested such a thing to you? Oh, well, it was... He's gone! Your temporary waxwork model over there who mentioned it to me a little... Oh, he disappeared. A wax model is a work of art, not some laundry object for the trade. Ah. There you are! Leaving the exhibit again when you should be working? Do you wish to be melted down? My dear Madame Tussbells, save your reprimands. There are more pressing concerns. The wax can wait. It's our ideas about your current problem we must throw into the melting pot instead. Personally, I would advise you not to involve the police. Why ever not? She's turned as white as a sheet. Because you have at your disposal a great detective, whose services you may employ for a mere 50 shillings. Those, please aware that I prefer. No, I insist upon payment in advance. Very well. Let us see if the great detective is able to live up to his name, shall we? Oh, here comes the deduction. Before I engage my analytical processes, I must ask you to clarify something. What, pray, is behind the curtain? That is the Tussbells special exhibit. There's an extra charge to see it. Ah, the special exhibit in the House of Horrors. It must depict a serial killer then, I presume. Would you be so kind as to draw back the curtain, I wonder? Absolute none! There is nothing amiss behind there. Nothing amiss, madam? What about the arm protruding ominously from under the curtain? Ah! I strongly encourage you to allow me to see what lies beyond before the situation worsens. Yes, very well. I will draw back the curtains, but only a soupcon. Number 139. I must confess, I peeked behind the curtain earlier. The Dustfall special exhibit is a very bleak graveyard scene indeed. Sure looks spooky. Yet somewhat surprisingly, the waxwork killer one would expect is nowhere to be seen. What does strike one, however... Wait. Is the portly gentleman lying peacefully on his back on the floor? Wasn't that one of the frickin', one of the jury from one of the previous cases? Actually, yeah. Wasn't that guy like a previous foreman? Well, then perhaps, Mr. Sholmes. That man on the floor is the ruthless killer himself. I'm afraid not, my dear fellow. He's a perfectly ordinary London gentleman, not even a waxwork, in fact. What? Skillfully made as the waxworks are, they are always distinguishable from real humans. So allow me to present to you my two conclusions. The first is that a sizable business transaction has been taking place in the special exhibit. What? Why would you say that? And the second is that the aforementioned transaction is linked to a serious crime. Ah! Looks as pale as candle wax. I don't understand. So, Madame Toughspells, as you agree to my fee, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so hopefully from your back. In my estimation, some £200. That is all my own money. What does this large sum of money reveal? Perhaps you had an investor? Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the £200 is revealed by that public notice. Waxwork for sale? Your business has hit hard times, it would seem. In short, you sold the infamous killer, the centerpiece of your special exhibit, for the sum of £200. None! Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is this portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear that the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the £200. It would appear that you twisted this gentleman around your little finger most effectively. What are you suggesting? He rashly agreed to purchase the waxwork for the sum of £200. Only when he came to hand the money over did it occur to him what an extraordinary amount he was paying. But the money was no longer in his hands. And the result, the scene we see before us, he collapsed in shock. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit fetched a killer price. We can only pray that the gentleman's dreams are not plagued with regret. Sold for cash? The question then arises then, what has become of the waxwork that's changed hands? Let's consider that problem for a moment. You cannot possibly... What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only to observe his handkerchief, such as worn by policemen as a secret sign to fellow members of the force that crime is being perpetrated. Yes, this young man is an undercover policeman, currently investigating this museum. I know him well, in fact. It's Sergeant John Clay. What are you talking about? The man's quite a celebrity. He's named triple accolades at last year's policing awards. But... Next we turn the attention to the old man sat before him with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely. He hasn't moved a muscle, almost in fact as if he were a waxwork. But you... Your reaction only covers my suspicion, madam. I noticed that once, of course. Observe. It tells us that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork to pay the obvious price tag. The thruppets? A tragically low price, you might say. But perhaps the going rate for being waxworks riddled with cracks. And yet you sold it to the portly gentleman for an exorbitant 200 pounds. The sort of plucky behavior that's sure to attract the attention of Scotland Yard, isn't that so, madam? I do not... Yes, the waxwork you sold has already been seized by the police. It remains in their custody as we speak. No man must be reunited with his grave in this special exhibit, and not a moment too soon. He goes again. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. I see I've stunned you all into silence. You have, Hurley, you have. And you've obviously upset this young lady in the process. Her cauldron looks awfully hot. If I could just bring up one point, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the notorious no, 1 point. I'm all ears, my dear fellow. For your deduction, then, the special exhibit featured this old policeman. So that would mean that he's the particularly ruthless murderer, wouldn't it? The killer policeman, Ottermole. Sorry? It was a mysterious series of murders that rattled the capital only last year. Police rushed to the scene every time, only to find the culprit had disappeared into the aether. And it turned out the culprit was the policeman himself, a senior officer by the name of Ottermole. So you mean that's just who the sinister-looking old man there is supposed to be? Indeed. It's probably grim-faced, is it not? Unforgettable, in fact. Yes, I remember that audacious countenance only too well. Was 200 pounds a lot of money for a wax model? It would be enough to afford one of the... enough to afford one of the latest Steam cartridges. That puts things in perspective. So, it's quite a lot then. Is there anything else you wish to add? Or I melt you down? That bubbling light is looking more and more ominous. Oh, the smell of all that molten wax is starting to worry me. Sholmes did more or less just accuse her to her face, so... I think might have to call on your assistance here, Iris, if that's alright. To make some minor corrections to the great detective's great deductions. Of course, it's alright. Well, we'll soon set things straight. Well, let's get started then, shall we? For Madame Tussfeld Vensereger. Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. So, Madame Tussfeld, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective in temporary exhibits at work. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so heavily from your bag. In my estimation, some 200 pounds. That's all my own money. So what does this large sum of money reveal? Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madame Tussfeld. Yes, the only answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the 200 pounds is real by that public notice. She definitely looked in this direction, it's true. Not sure she'd sell any of her waxworks even for 200 pounds. Oh? She must pour her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and above the wax? But for me, I wouldn't sell them for anything. For that much money, I would. It sounds like that makes me a bad person. Oh, anyway. I wonder if the 200 pounds could have some other significance. Let's follow that furtive glance again and see if there's anything that could explain it. Oh, there's something over here. Is that note being pinned on the wall there? Oh yes, let's see. Dear Madame Tussfeld, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for his safe return is 200 pounds. Ah, so it was her prisoner was stolen. Have the money ready by noon on the 23rd of October. What? This is just like all the sort that's left behind when someone is kidnapped. Yes, it's a ransom note. Exactly.
Take that!
The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that ransom note. Quite so, and we must congratulate these criminals on their inventiveness abducting a waxwork. 200 pounds is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it. The model in question has special importance, so I put together all the money I have. In summary then, the 200 pounds you have in your handbag is ransom money. Now, let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear that the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow, of course, was the 200 pounds! So if the last word is kidnapped, where does that leave us in terms of who this man is? Just ask him when he comes around. I think what this exercise is to understand the beauty of this deduction process, Iris. Yes, you're right. Hurley's trying so hard. We mustn't let him down. There's little doubt that he suffered a shock. That much seems clear. In that case, what's Madame Tuspo's trying to hide. Let's have a closer look around. What's that? Wait. She's hiding that. She's hiding that hand. It's just Madame Tuspo's right hand, isn't it? No, she's holding a hand. This must be. I can clearly see her left hand after all. But wait a minute. It's the left hand as well, look. Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please. It seems very stiff, too. In fact, it's really hard. You mean, it's made of wax? Well, since we don't actually see the dude's arm, I think that's his arm. Also, nice. She has a nice braid. Nice braided hair.
Take that!
What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand. Indeed, with a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow. How could you... I mean, true. He would be knocked out by it, whatever. The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. It ought to be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals that in fact, it's a left hand. Ah. And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it does not belong to you, madam. It is the hand of a waxwork model. Based on the coloration, would that mean it's that gentleman over there? Some of the visitors in my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage. So you mean that arm? Yes. This gentleman saw fit to try to remove it as a souvenir. No small keepsake. Like taking a whole branch of a cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms. I'm afraid I had to teach the man a lesson. He confronted the man and tried to take the arm back. And the result? The scene we see before us. He was knocked unconscious. A point we may need to revisit later, but for the time being, we have our conclusion. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit has been kidnapped. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let's consider that problem for a moment. You cannot possibly... Well, I'd assume the arm came from him, because it was the left arm. What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief. According to Mr. Sholmes, oh yeah, for sure. They went like a... I think what's really nice about these two specific games is that it seems like they have a lot more control of the camera, so they can do so much more with it. And I really like that. Like, the cinematography is really up there. Yellow Neckerchief is a sign to other policemen that some crime is underway. A way of communicating with his colleagues without revealing his identity, yes. Secret that closely guarded by Scotland Yard. Sean didn't hesitate to give away. Well, uncovering secrets is any true detective's nature, of course. Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tussfell's reaction to Mr. Sholmes' abduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. Probably because he's missing an arm. What the? The man has a stub sticking out of his shoulder where his arm should be. Ah, well that tells that then. Right, this isn't a real person at all. His entire arm's been ripped off from the shoulder down. His arm's been... Of course, that ties in with what we just found out.
Take that!
Who is this fellow? To find an answer, we need only observe his shoulder stub. No such boneless human walks this earth, of that I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact, defying all odds, a waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes. Yes, it was. He's become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man. And naturally, what other explanation could there be? It was the detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it? Next, we turned attention to the old man sat before him, with a particularly unsightly visage. I've been watching closely, and he hasn't moved a muscle, almost in fact as if he were a waxwork. But you... Your action only confirms my suspicions, madam. No, said at once, of course. Observe. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious price tag. Killer policeman called Ottermole, was it? Was he well known? I saw all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. It's very low price, though. Ruppence isn't very much money. Only enough for amusing hours of gas and Mr. Gyarados' delightful lodgings, in fact. So this is a special killer taken from the special exhibit, is it? I swear that somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for 200 pounds. Is Rusty old killer policeman Honorable? Really? Perhaps we should go look around again, see if another idea crops up. Well, is there anything else on him? Oh! He's tapping his foot! That guy's alive! Look at this! Oh man's tapping his foot like crazy. Seems to be fast asleep though. He's just napping. He's not tapping his foot consciously then? So you mean... Must be a twitch. Never mind that. Point is, waxworks don't tap their feet. Or twitch. And look at his arm too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we?
Take that!
Telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a twitch. In other words, this splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of adjectives then. And there you have it. Well, Madame Tussfels? Well, what? It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place. He's clearly fatigued. He's sound asleep. Well, considering what we learned in the last game about all the cops literally being practically on the clock for like at least 18 hours a day, and they walk everywhere, I would not doubt it if the guy just literally wants to freaking sleep. But then, what's this tag about showing a price of 3 pence? No doubt the price tag of the muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. And I presume you've observed the scarf tied around his arm. Does it not strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, a secret sign used by detectives to show that some criminal activity is currently underway. Of course, because, as you know, there's been just as criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, Detective. So it seemed that we finally arrived at the truth. The waxwork of the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard are already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. Telemetry! All sorts of people visit my museum here. Men and women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome them all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly. As can be observed. Anyway. That was a beautiful freaking animation. I love that. Your great deduction was ever more enchanting than I had been led to believe. It was a pleasure, my dear madam. And as for your rough customer... Yes, I am gayer now because of that. And as for your rough customer, I've no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from this special display, as if it was indeed genuinely abducted. Yes, tragically it was. I don't ask you to recount us the events surrounding the stolen waxwork. In as much detail as possible, if you please. Very well. But after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work. The talents of a great detective could be put to better use, I feel, but as you wish. Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please. It was some days ago now when I came in here one morning. I immediately noticed that a waxwork was missing from the special exhibit here. It is your most prominent display, so that's why the curtains were closed. And I found that the ransom note in its place. Holbert must have broken in during the night and taken it then. So this waxwork that was stolen was the model of some horrible criminal, I suppose? Of a particularly horrible criminal, in fact. Who? The killer who left a more profound scar in society than any other, I would say. The Professor. The Professor? Not a name I've heard of. So, Mr. Naruhodo, it seems the circle is complete. Sorry? The rest of our case happened at around the time I was born, didn't it? 10 years ago? Indeed it did, Iris. 10 years ago, a series of murders that rocked the capital. 10 years ago? Yes, at exactly the time. That Barak von Zieks graduated from university, in fact. Wait. Does that mean that that incident changed Zeke's forever? Surely he's not saying. So the big event that changed Mr. Reaper's life. As you surmised, it was the professor case. Who was this professor then? It was a series of gruesome murders that had all of London gripped in terror a decade ago. After 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested and put to death. And now he's immortalized here in wax for all Londoners to admire and enjoy. Though, of course, he happened to be absent at present on the account of the abduction. I don't understand. How is all this related to Lord Van Zieks? You must first understand, my dear fellow. Why is it that the professor earned such infamy? It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest. What do you mean, Hurley? Those murdered by the professor were some of the highest members of the British aristocracy. Members of the nobility, even royalty. It sent shockwaves through the country's administration. Members of the... wait, of course. Professor Harebrained said. Lord Van Zieks is from a family with noble blood. Oh. So his family was killed. That would explain it. Oh gosh. He was the 5th victim that led to the professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of Clint von Zieks. No! I don't believe it. Von Zieks? I'm sure you can piece together the rest for yourself. In the wake of his older brother's murder, the young Barak pursued a career as a prosecutor, and eventually became the Reaper we know today. I had no idea Lord Von Zieks had such a tragic past. Well, I'm afraid that's all I can say on the matter, for the time being at least. After all, I have work to do. As a waxwork exhibit. I'm afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well. Oh, yes, of course, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Well, all the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved you coming to visit me here. Oh. It's been too long, it really has. Not to see you, Barak. It's been 10 years, and here we are, meeting in person of all places. Can't forgive myself for what happened to Mr. Osman. I just can't. I still can't believe it could have happened. Tomorrow, the court will decide. Yes. I have a young Eastern man acting for my defense. He seems reliable enough, though. It was an accident, a terrible accident. He assures me he can improve it. I must warn you. Oh, I know. I've heard already. You're going to be prosecuting, aren't you? Yes. Since the return to England, I've heard lots of stories. Barak, are you really? What? Never mind. I know that you have my best interests at heart. My friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else. Of course, I fully understand. Thank you, Barack. Until tomorrow, then. I'll see you in court. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. He wants to make sure that his friend gets not guilty. But he has to act the prosecutor. I believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And here I am, back at the Old Bailey. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Good morning, Professor Harebrained. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. Never felt anything like it. It's crushing me. I feel it every time I'm here, that gravity. Well, this is Britain's highest court. But what you're telling me is fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure? I think it's probably all in the mind. Ah, yes, well. You won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial to save my life. To save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being made public. Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident. Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail. My conversations, Mr. Naruhodo. You appear to have been lumbered with a most tiresome case here. Mr. Sholmes, I didn't expect to see you here. That was very mean, Runo, leaving me alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to wake him. Is it? Are you? Herlock Sholmes? Indeed, sir. I am he. Herlock Sholmes. Oh, I've heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany. Ah, yes. Rance magazine is on sale in Germany, too. This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction in the Adventure of Silver Blaze was wonderful. Ah, yes. A memorable case indeed. It concerned a snake, I seem to recall. No, that was the Speckled Band. Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow. I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh. I have urgent business at Madame Tuspel's. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services. So you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then. I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be as easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. Or until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description. Oh, then you must absolutely give it your full attention, Hurley. Quite, Iris, quite. But life is riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for a pie. One of the universe's indestructible mysteries, you might say. Yes, quite, definitely. Absolutely, I totally understand. Is someone a little starstruck? Yes. I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Harebrained. Oh, why, thank you. Or depart, Mr. Naruto. A word in your ear, if you please. What's this about? As you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel ought to inform you. As compelling as this super high voltage instantaneous hypothesis may be, a practical implementation such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition is quite impossible. But the professor said the demonstration was a success. Yes, it would appear that he firmly believes it was. Professor Bunnybrain's paper about it too, Reno, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically. So he's completely barking up the wrong tree. How can an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeed? That's contradictory. And it's that contradiction that will be at the heart of the trial, no doubt. What's this supposed to mean? Now, I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow. See you later, Hurley. Well, looks like you're on your own today, Runo. But chin up, you can do it. Oh, what about you, Iris? No, I'm afraid I can't help. There's something I need to do. I see. It's going to be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is. That sounds ominous. Counsel for the defense and a defendant. Court is about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once. We're on our way. In we go! Experiment that the laws of science say can't possibly succeed. And a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Ryunosuke. That's the key to this case. Well, let's see what we got. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We're sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert's harebrain. And now, call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. I'm 6 months out of practice, and what's more, she's not here. I'm without Susato-san today. Alone. It's just my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? So, I must say I recollect the victim of this case all too well. Mr. Odie Osman. Mr. Osman was well known as a financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court prosecuted by you, Lord Van Zeeks. But jury unanimously found him not guilty. As every member of the jury had been bribed by the sound of it. These powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. 2 days ago, on the 21st of October, Mr. Osman met his end. And the work of the Reaper, was it? If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Osman's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Harebrain. Very well then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty? I am most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord. To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh golly, it sends shivers down my spine. Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials, all are nothing more than performances. Wild. A spurious scholar that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang. Is that a freaking child? Is that a freaking child? We have to listen to what's said on both sides, defense and settle on one. That's it, isn't it? Oh. And there's the sleepy boy from the other day. Wasn't this in my day? Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all. Sir, put the gun down, please. That's the police killer Automo look-alike. Again. Corn. Yes, corn. Excited, exhausted as ever, it seems. Now, as I'm sure you are all well aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition shortly after its opening. Though the death toll could have been far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of the science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators. Tried to turn to the events, and as such, the eyes of all London, no, of the whole world will be on this trial. It's our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Van Zeeks. At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world. Science-slaves developments, I take it. Everyone is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage. Technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. Good lord. It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled. Is such a thing even with the realms a possibility? Well, I don't believe it. That's for sure. Assembling people with electricity? My goodness, how shocking. Ha! The whole idea is absurd. My hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny. Sir, I believe you're a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? Expert in your field? I am. My word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock. So this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible. What's the prosecution's view on the matter? The prosecution would assert that the accused instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success. Oh boy. The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is indeed to have a merit, a substantial research grant would be available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Osman's life, in order to be the sole benefactor of the grants. But this disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim. Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks. Prosecution's stance is clear. We will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims. Gladly, my lord. Bailiff, show the witnesses to the stand. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of the following investigation. Albert Harebrain, the scientist. You were born in England, but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct? Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went to Germany and made an amazing discovery. Which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition. What you demonstrated was incredible, alright? An incredible explosion. But the science was a success. The insidious kinesis worked. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Yes, there was a terrible accident, but demonstration of my hypothesis was a success. Well, that much is undeniable, as shown in this photograph taken by the forensic investigation team. This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. Such a piece of the exhibition, no less. That's right, my lord. The victim rammed straight into it. I see. Very well. Submit the photograph as evidence. As the court's heard, the victim of the incident was Mr. Odie Osman. There's been a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being, he was the man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself. I see. So to summarize the situation, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct? Exactly. Couldn't it be that the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right, that must be it. My splendid machine. My poor splendid machine. You saw it yesterday, didn't you? We can't even examine the wreckage thanks to the Special Dispensation for the Scientific Equipment Act. What? The wreckage? The wreckage? That being the case, how can the facts be established? How can it possibly determine whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act? Extremely simply, my lord. Beg your pardon. Isn't that right? Witness. What? Sorry? Me? No, your neighbor. Yes, sir. It was murder, plain and simple. Anyone could state that without complete certainty. What? How can you possibly think that? Thank you, Inspector. I think we had better proceed to formal testimony. You explained to the court on what grounds you claimed this experiment to have been a front for murder. The corpse that went crashing through the Crystal Tower had a broken neck. Huh? I don't see signs of anything like a broken neck. There's no marks. I mean, a minor misassociation in the angle of the beam projection, that's all. That was my mistake. Plus, well, from what we can tell from the actual picture, it seems more like he died from a stab wound. You know? But the postmortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp in the art. The victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fellow's the only one who could have done it. Okay. An extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart. Information I would really like to have heard from someone other than the judge. Carter says the death would have been all but instant from a wound like that. You could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused. No. That couldn't be further from the truth. I have here the experiment plan document that was submitted to the security team. The victim stood himself inside something called the birdcage, ready to be beamed instantly. To the second level of the Crystal Tower, about 25 yards away. The experiment did not go according to the plan, however. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in midair, from where it substantially fell, crashing through the glass of the Crystal Tower's large round window. My word, one assumes the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower then. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this to happen. This machine was just too powerful. Honestly, really, I swear, it was just an accident, a terrible accident. Unfortunately, that excuse cannot save you. No, not considering the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's heart. Murder weapon? What are you saying? This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like it entered into the court record. Request is granted, counsel. His neck was broken from the impact of a violent fall and he was stabbed in the chest with a sharp object. That's weird. I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole ludicrous performance. The only other person on stage with Mr. Osman was that disgraceful excuse for a scientist. Then really, by all accounts, it must have been him. Hard to think otherwise, really. Very well, counsel for the defense. Proceed with the cross-examination, please. Oh, yes, my lord. Need to focus here. It's been a while. Horse that went crashing into the Crystal Tower had a broken neck. I made a minor miscalculation on the angle of the beam projection, that's all. That was my mistake.
Hold it!
So the angle of the projection is critical, is it? And you calculated it yourself, personally? Absolutely. The calculation is far too complicated for anyone but me to carry out. Only you got it wrong, didn't you? Yes, that's right. That's the point. The calculation is so complicated that even I can make a mistake. People fall for that brazen confidence. I should try it. I took into account the subject's height and weight, wind direction, the ambient temperature, sort of every possible variable, so I just don't understand how this could have happened. Obviously, then, you had to include the weight of the clothes Mr. Osman was wearing at the time, I suppose. Ah. Crackling comments. The answer should have been 3. So much for safety first. 3 must be for safety third. Let me take a look at that. Courtney Scythe. Wild. Hemorrhage of a wound to the chest that pierced the heart, inflicted by a sharp implement. Here's a thick canvas with a thick rubber lining of sorts. Never seen anything like it before. Applying Mr. Schulten's methods. I deduce it was part of a raincoat worn by someone who really didn't want to get wet. Charring must have occurred when the person was struck by lightning. Or maybe not. Ah, there's some sort of lever here. A crossbow? What is this? Wait. If that's the case, why was it found near the frickin'... Oh! He was shot with an arrow! Looks like a cross between a bow and a gun. It's a crossbow. I think it's probably used for the same thing, too. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that means he was killed by an arrow. Looks like you wind this around in order to draw the bowstring back and create tension. Must be able to fire arrows with a huge amount of force using this device then. In fact, I would imagine it's far more accurate and powerful than the Japanese longbow. Ugh, I really had no idea what I was picking up when I spotted this at the exhibit grounds. Let me think. Well, what was that? Let's do nothing of this crucial information. Prosecution received this report from the forensic team only this morning. That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense. Sarcastic and insincere? Thanks. So, what was the nature of the sharp object? Among the cursed used tools, there were in use at the demonstration. One is of particular interest. This. Ah, yes, that would appear to be... Ah ha ha! There he is. My trusty little companion, Andrew. Andrew? Of course. Ah, do you know each other already? He's one of my dear friends, like all my tools. I named them all, you know. We're one big happy family. Andrew is my flathead screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael is a crosshead. Well, it appears that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank. That isn't... It's blood. Beyond all reasonable doubt. No! And that's not all. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fellow is completely consistent with the victim's wound. What? Court will enter this friend of the defendant as evidence. So one of the professor's harebrained tools is the murder weapon. Great. Great. Make it worse for me, why don't you? This is blood. Mr. Osman's, no doubt. This is the problem with looking at murder weapons. I've seen this unusually shaped handle before. Same screwdriver that was lodged on the grill on the floor of the kinesis machine. Which could be important information, so I should definitely make a note of it. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fella's the only one who could have done it. Are we sure? Are we sure of that? What grounds do you have for saying that? Ha! Do you really think you need to ask? There were only 2 people on that public experimentation stage in front of the whole crowd. The victim, Mr. Odie Osman, and the accused, Professor Harebrain. And we know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive. That's right, I saw him with my own eyes. Furthermore, following the explosion in the kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body. In other words, only someone else on the stage.
Scott.
Oh, what do you have to say about that?
Excuse me.
Professor Harebrain, do you have some information that may be relevant here? Professor? Oh, sorry. I was just calculating the optimum coefficient of electrolysis to separate molecules in the human body. And the witness stand is the best place for that? Seemed as though you might have something to say. Found Inspector Gregson's last remark. Yes, that's right, of course. He said that nobody could have done it, didn't he? Yeah, that's right. Who else would have stabbed the victim, eh? I don't know, but there's no way that I could possibly have stabbed Mr. Osman, as you say. Eh? Explain, please, Professor. Of course. This cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose. But humans are warm-blooded mammals with blood running continuously through their veins. I had heard. Then sure, you see, if I had plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath. No, a blood swimming pool. 1,000 Londoners were watching me at the time. And yet not one of them claims to have seen a swimming pool of blood. Well, no, I suppose not. You see, not one. True, I didn't see anything like that. Hold on, Professor. That was a great counter-argument. pray, forgive the courtesy if I favor a drop from my hollow chalice to accompany my old friend's adducing. Here's to you, Albert. Oh, you're too kind, Barack. But I've really not a patch on you. No, you're not. No? You neglected to mention one crucial possibility. I have? A particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound. Of course. Inspector, enlighten the court, please. Yes, sir. Are they going with this? Very well. You will amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson. The weapon the victim was stabbed with must have left his body whilst he was beamed through the air.
Objection!
How about no? You see that while the weapon remains in the body, there is very little bleeding. Is that unequivocal? The problem is, it wasn't left in the body. Look, there is no blood on the experimentation stage, even though that's where the fellow was stabbed. The only explanation for that is if the screwdriver was still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding. It's common medical knowledge, my learned friend. Even on your side of the world. Yes, but about this screwdriver. Thing is, we actually saw it at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage. What? It was on the floor of the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Now you come to mention it, yes. Inspector, I already understand that you permitted the defense counsel to investigate. That you can contravene the Special Dispensation of Scientific Equipment Act. No, not at all. I wouldn't do that. I just let him look, nothing more. It was very clear he wasn't to touch a thing. Yes, that's true. His screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it? What are you getting at? If this tool had been in the victim's body when the victim was beamed away by the machine, then it shouldn't have still been on the stage. That's right. It should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower along with Mr. Osman. And been found still lodged in the victim's chest. How do you explain this, Inspector? I don't... It looks as though everything that the victim had on his person moved with him when he was beamed. And the screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred. Obviously, that should have been beamed to the destination as well. You. This is a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis is a scientific impossibility, we're still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. Alright, time to tighten the screws here. My lord, prosecution is unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument. We can only conclude that the testimony given in this court cannot be relied upon. He's stumped. Wait, what? Do you have something to say, witness? Yes, I know it. It bears out. The equations hold. Mr. Naruto, don't worry. Wait. Are you going to freaking... Are you going to refute my frickin' explanation? My client is against me. About what? Without delving into the details, there is no inconsistency. What? Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Osman's chest. My trusty tool wouldn't have moved. Andrew remaining on the stage is consistent with my calculations. What? He destroyed it. It would seem your illusions have been shattered. Clearly, we should hear the accused's explanation. Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation? Just when I found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientists. Very well, the defendant will testify again. Provide us with the scientific explanation as to why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold. Your Honor, my client is a moron. Can we have recess? You're hurting your chances here, buddy. I'm clear. I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. My hypothesis states that the kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence, the metal weapon would have stayed put. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruto isn't an inconsistency at all. Wait. I mean, you're at least... No, wait, no. No. Those are that's freaking metal on his damn glasses. Don't freaking lie to me. That's metal on his freaking glasses. Sir! Mr. Osman was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together. Oh my god. So the trust of your testimony, Professor, is that based upon his hypothesis, metal objects can't be moved by the method of instantaneous kinesis. Wrong! Because he's got metal on his freaking glasses. In other words, since the screwdriver is made of metal, even it remained lodged in the victim's chest. Its discovery on the stage, despite the victim being found elsewhere, is not an inconsistency. And therefore, Professor Albert Harebrain could still have been the killer. My great hypothesis holds, you see. Okay, but this means you're going to get frickin' put to the death, dude. You idiot. We had to make the cage used to contain the substance from wood from that very reason. It's not addressing you, witness. Professor Harebrain? Yes? Whose side are you on here? I don't take sides, Mr. Naruto. No. My own research lies in upholding my hypothesis. I'm a scientist, after all. Is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell. Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponese friend. Yes, fire away, Mr. Naruto. Well, I already found the inconsistency, so... You're kind of done for? I'm sorry, your hypothesis does not hold.
Objection!
Professor Harebrained, you say that according to your hypothesis, nothing made of metal can be beaten by instantaneous kinesis using the machine you made, is that right? Yes, that's right. Spot on. Exactly correct. In that case, I'd ask you to have a look at this photograph that was taken at the scene. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. You can clearly see that Mr. Osman is wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim. What? Metal? No! Metal can't... That's not... Metal? No! Already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis correctly predicted that outcome, it should also have predicted that the metal rimmed spectacles would be found in the same place. My hypothesis! My hypothesis! Professor Harebrained, this isn't easy for me to say, but your hypothesis is clearly flawed. Ah! Counsel, what is the implication of this? On the day in question, the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place. It's entirely possible that the victim was killed somewhere then. Somewhere other than the stage. In that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit. But my hypothesis is sound! Proved that day, the experiment was a success. The experiment was proof of all my work. If I could say something here in my capacity as a fellow of the Royal Society. Yes, you're number 4, go ahead. As a man of science, there is one thing I simply cannot abide. And that's a fraud who pretends to be a fellow man of science. What? Wait! Great Scott! Are you suggesting my science is suspect? It's just been disproved, hasn't it? In front of all of us. In other words, the whole demonstration was complete nonsense from start to finish. Believe me, my fellow jurors, when I tell you that this man is a heel, a bounder, and a fraud. I say the wreckage of that machine should be stripped down and thoroughly examined. No! Never! That machine examines my entire hypothesis! It's protected by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. What the devil is that blasted act all about, eh? Who made up such a daft rule? I don't like the way this seems to be going. It's the best way for me to help the professor. Raise an objection.
Objection!
Professor Harebrained has yet to perfect his invention. That would seem to be the case, yes. But even so what? Going to such trouble and expense to create a fake machine to display in public. He would have absolutely no reason to do such a thing.
Objection!
He had an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money. You can't prove that! If the government was foolish enough to have deemed the man's ridiculous notion plausible, he and his conspirators would have received a handsome sum indeed. Conspirators? What would be the value of such a grant? 10 pounds? You're an order of magnitude out, madam. 500 pounds a year. Oh, it could have lived handsome on that much for years. The Society's noticed an increase in bogus public demonstrations in the field of science recently. And plenty of scientists arguing with each other to get the largest slice of the funding cake. And people's greed is plenty motive enough for murder, I assure you. No, no, no! I haven't deceived anyone! Least of all the government! My hypothesis is sound! The science is sound! Please, you must believe me!
Objection!
No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that the victim was transported instantly to the Crystal Tower. Which means that the experiment was a success. Ah, Barack! And therefore, the only person who could possibly have committed this murder is the accused. Ah, Barack. Where's this heading? I have no idea. My lord, if I may. Yes, Lord Van Zeeks? The prosecution would like to summon new witnesses to the stand. New witnesses? What would be the nature of their involvement? They were spectators of the demonstration of the exhibition, who were occupying special seats. Eyewitnesses? Very well. The court grants the prosecution request. I should very much like to hear from the eyewitnesses to the incident. The prosecution's stance is clear. This experiment was no pastiche. The accused killed the financier victim there on the public stage before the very eyes of spectators. Now, my learned friend. Oh, yes? It's time for you to make your own stance clear. There's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I can definitely see that. Where does that leave me? You should take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will pair its new witnesses to take the stand. As you wish, my lord. Good. In that case, court is adjourned for 20 minutes. Oh boy. Yeah, probably. Because I'm sure we have, like, plenty of parts left for this. We probably have plenty of parts for this left or something like that. Because I imagine we're probably going to go back to investigation again after the next part or something like that. Maybe. We will have to see. But otherwise, probably going to have to call it here. So let me save that. Well, I'll at least, like, get into the thing, but I'm not gonna do anything. Make sure I'm, like, properly in part 2. Alright. Back up. Back it up. Back it up. Alright. Like she said, we're probably gonna end it here. We'll come back to this basically whenever I feel the need, which I'm probably thinking it's gonna be next week, but I think it depends on what happens with Friday, because I'd maybe think that we're probably like halfway through Call of War's Gunslinger, but I don't know for sure. But we shall see, we shall see, we shall see. We'll see what happens. But otherwise, thank you everyone for coming by today. We'll come back for Wednesday with Hangouts. we'll also be dedicating some of that stream to the Bioshock Infinite Bear Let's See episode 2. But other than that, I'll see y'all Wednesday. I hope y'all have a good Tuesday and the rest of your day today. And other than that, take care. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I'll see y'all later. Take care.